our matrix is gratitude, relationships, innovation, and teamwork. We try and make all of our decisions within that framework. Start with the foundation of gratitude. If we're not thankful for what we have, we'll never appreciate blessings we may get in the future.
So Scott, I'm excited about this episode. I have you on the show. I'm gonna get serial entrepreneur, a man after my own heart. You've been on Shark Tank. You've had a lot of success, with some of these leadership, like grit leadership, and having speaking events and stuff like that. So welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, man.
Even remotely, it's still fun.
So how is it down there? You're in Alabama, right? Mobile.
I am. Yeah, I'm down here on the Gulf Coast, and we're all just trying to do the best we can, staying safe, staying healthy, and learning our social distancing protocol, right. Which is hard for a guy like me. I'm super ENFP, man. I'm a hugger. I want to just hug everybody. So, it's been an interesting challenge.
It's interesting because I think what's going to happen is because a lot of us, we spend so much time away from each other that the moment that this all gets lifted, it's like we'll see like unity with everybody again, because it's like, man, I really miss like just shaking hands.
So. I know. Yeah, that human interaction, that emotional connection is something that people really crave and thrive for, and sometimes we don't really even realize we've missed it until something like this comes along and shows us how much we did, need that as part of our lives.
Yeah, I think we never realize like what's going to happen, when situations like this, like the aftermath. But I do think that there's going to be some changes. But I think some of those changes are going to be for the good. Like I said, if anything, it should unify us, and I talk about this a lot. I've been doing a lot of podcasts and stuff, but like the entrepreneurs like us, right? Innovating in times like this, because we're very limited on certain things that we can do. Before we jump into like kind of the nitty gritty, let me get some background, for our audience and stuff, a little background on you, to kind of get your journey.
Yeah. So I was born and raised down here on the Gulf Coast, and thought I wanted to be a teacher and a coach, and did that for a few years, and then quickly learned that public education and being a teacher was not necessarily the world for me. So I went to law school and was an attorney for a while. And while I was an attorney, that's actually where I got the first opportunity to jump into startup world. And so I had a great friend who asked me to come be employee number one at his startup, and we jumped into the international security field. And from there, I've just had a wonderful opportunity to figure out how to solve problems. And what we kind of discovered is, no matter what field you're in, solving problems is very similar, right? You just create the formula that works for you and run through those formulas, revise it as you can, and keep trying to do better with each iteration. So through that, I've done everything from technology to healthcare to I ran a state fair, and everything in between. You have hospitality and tourism, owned a restaurant and some tourist attractions, and now I spend a lot of my time doing consulting and advising, and really spending a lot of my time now back in technology again with a company that we work with called KickFin. And we actually help restaurants and bars pay out their credit card tips to their servers and bartenders digitally so that they don't have to handle cash. So instead of having to peel off that cash at the end of each shift, they can digitally push that immediately into their bank account in under 1 second, which has been a really interesting thing, especially as we talk about innovating, right? With restaurants and bars having to go to, or really restaurants going to curbside, and really the increase in delivery service. And so through what we do now, we can help those operators not have to handle that cash every day, that hard currency.
That's interesting.
It's pretty fun.
Is that like an idea, a concept that you had before all this coronavirus stuff that you've been working on, and or is it something that developed out of this?
No, it actually was developed last year. The two founders are based out of San Francisco, and I was fortunate enough to get linked up with them over the fall and winter. And so it's just kind of coincidental that there's a huge need now to remove the handling of cash from the business process. There was already a big need, and now there's an even greater need.
Isn't that interesting? Like how sometimes, like, you're starting up, something that's been in the works for over a year, and then it's like just the right place, the right time. An unfortunate events, right? But it is serving a need that's run right now. Like I look at this other company called Quibi. Obviously, I work in the film business, film and TV business, and Quibi is this new platform where you're actually getting bite-sized content on your mobile device, but they're like major Hollywood productions. They've got, big name cast, but they're literally they're short films, and several months ago or a year ago or so, like having a short film was like, it's not a feature. But now this company's thriving because everybody's consuming content, and short form content on your phone is something that people are really looking for. So it's just amazing how, sometimes these ideas, they just come to fruition at the right time.
Oh, that's a great point. And I think we're going to see even more of that kind of, as we come out of this social distancing. I think we're going to enter kind of a new era, and people are going to find ways to innovate and to thrive. But at the end of the day, as we talk about, emotional connections drive brand loyalty. It's just going to be, how do we create those emotional connections in new ways, and how do we reach our guests? How do we reach those folks that we're trying to, join up with? And can we do it in new and innovative ways that allow us to utilize technologies? And, I think we're going to learn, like, maybe we don't all need to be in the office all day, every day. Maybe we can have more remote work. Maybe we can, work 4 days instead of 5. I think you're going to just see a lot of innovation that comes out of this. I'm not smart enough to predict what all those are going to look like, but I do think we all need to prepare for the world to look substantially differently as we go through this process.
People think I'm crazy, but times like this are exciting for me. I mean, because I'm just like you, like I'm a natural born, entrepreneur by heart, and I just always see opportunities, and so it forces me to innovate. Like I innovate naturally, but what it's also doing is it's forcing other people to innovate, and I think a lot of these business owners, they've been so focused and buried in their business, they've been working in their business, that they haven't worked on their business, and they haven't really put in place strategic thinking to actually make their business better or develop a new product. And what this time is doing is allowing a lot of these people to start strategically thinking about their business where they didn't have the time before. So like you said, I think a lot of good things, a lot of new ideas are going to spawn from this.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that the main thing that we all have to do is figure out, how are we creating value? If we can create value, then we'll come out on top, on the top end of this. There's going to be winners and losers. Right now, sometimes it's hard. The government gets to pick who's open and who's not. So that hurts a lot of small businesses. Right. But there are opportunities, as you said, to use this time to reevaluate. Are we doing things the best way we can? What are our processes, procedures? What's it going to look like when we come out on the backside?
Yeah. No, I think it's really important for business owners to be fluid and think outside the box, because you can't operate as usual. And some great companies really have come out of recessions and stuff, and providing value. That was another thing too, is look at where the world is right now, and what infrastructure do you have in place to provide that value? How can your business maybe service the healthcare industry, or service, some of these industries that are thriving. They are thriving right now, because there are some businesses, like you said, there's winners and there's losers. And some of these that are thriving, how can you align your business with them so you can continue to survive?
Yeah, we all have our own unique skills, experiences, and resources, right? And so it's, how do we take those skills, experiences, and resources, apply them in maybe new ways, maybe connect otherwise unconnected things and connect them in new ways. And right now, when I talk to clients or business associates or whatever, it's like, I'm not even worried about how I'm going to get paid yet. I'm worried about providing the value, because if I can figure out ways to provide value, I know that back end will come around. And if it doesn't, wasn't it the right thing to help people anyway? I mean, like right now, we're all going to need each other. We're going to have to help every way we can, and then it'll shake out. I can't remember who said it. So it's maybe a Cuban or somebody like that said that we're really going to learn a lot about businesses, about how they treat their employees, during this time. We're going to learn a lot about that, and people aren't going to forget how they were treated. Mm-hmm. It's that old expression. We don't always remember what people said, but we always remember how they made us feel.
Exactly.
And so that's a good opportunity. We have a good opportunity right now to help people in times of struggle. And it's going to be hard. I mean, I think, we're going to continue to see unemployment rise. We're going to continue to, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But if we look at it and try and figure out what better is going to look like and try and be a part of that process, I think we've got a much better chance. I try and think of it this way. It's like, I can't worry about things I can control. I can only worry about the things that I can control. And right now, the only things that I really can control are kind of my attitude, my hope, and power washing, right? I can power wash and I can control that. But, there's not, I mean, that's kind of a joke. And there's really not a whole lot that's within our control right now.
I think that's the biggest thing too, is like it's not, you can't prevent these situations. It's how you respond to them, right? It's how you actually respond to each one, because as business owners, especially in the start of this, man, we as leaders, we make decisions. A lot of times we make life-changing decisions, but then it switched to making life-changing decisions on a daily basis and sometimes an hourly basis. And if you're falling apart, it's going to skew your decision-making process. It's going to skew the decisions that you're making. If you have a lot of employees or something like that, it's affecting a lot of people. So you've got to stay level-headed. You got to get that out of the way and say, all right, this is the situation I'm faced with, whether it's cash flow issues, whether it's clients leaving, whatever it is. Deal with that issue and then move on to the next. But maintain a level head, because if you lose it, you're at jeopardy of making a lot of poor decisions. You're not going to make every right decision, but mitigate as many as you can by maintaining your composure.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for people to start creating like their own success formula, right? Like, what is the matrix that you use to make decisions? In my personal life, mine is grit, kindness, and relentless optimism, right? That's how I try and frame that. But that just works for me personally. So in business, we try and take that and turn it into an acronym, and we call it grit, right? We talk about grit. It's this, our matrix is gratitude, relationships, innovation, and teamwork. We try and make all of our decisions within that framework. Start with the foundation of gratitude. If we're not thankful for what we have, we'll never appreciate blessings we may get in the future. Relationships, because everything should be relational as much as possible and not transactional. Now, we're in business, so transactions have to take place, but it needs to be on a relational basis. Innovation, because creativity is thinking new things, but innovation is actually doing those new things. And kind of the key point of innovation is we have to have the ability to forgive ourselves and forgive our team when we don't get the result we wanted, right? Because it doesn't necessarily mean we made the wrong decisions. We just didn't get the right result. And then the T is for teamwork, because if we were all just alike, we wouldn't need each other. And so that's kind of the foundation of how we try and make our decisions. And, when we get involved with different projects or clients or business associates, we try and say, can I use this formula in one of three capacities, and hopefully all three, but, do I believe in the people behind the product? Do I believe in the product or the service? And do I believe that it can help, the end user? And if it checks all three boxes, then that makes us really excited. And that's really kind of how I got involved with KickFin. I love the founders. I think they're tremendous people. The product is a wonderful product. And then at the end of the day, it solves problems and allows these servers and bartenders to get their money immediately when they're not necessarily living check to check. They're living shift to shift. We're able to accommodate that while also helping the owner operator to not have that cash burden on hand. So it's just, that's what works for me. That wouldn't work for everybody. I think everybody needs their own kind of formula or system. But to your point earlier, now that we've got a little break and a little time to think more, maybe gives everybody an opportunity to figure out what's going to work for them. Create that framework.
Right. I love that, and that's part of our infrastructure too. Is gratitude and helping others achieve what they want in life. It's not about us. It's about what I can do to help you. Is a great, in my opinion, is a great framework for any business, because it takes the focus off of you and puts it on them. I mean, you look at how healthy a company is, how happy are the employees? It's what is coming down from leadership is what is going to be conveyed and pushed out also to your clients, right? So if if you have a very large organization, you have a lot of employees, it's always going to start down from the top, and helping other people get to where they want to go. It just does something to boost morale and to have that trickle down effect where it's actually it's showing with your clients, like staying, especially now, oh man, you got to stay in contact with your clients and all the people, your vendors. I'm calling up vendors now and just be like, hey man, how's your business doing? What's going on? I'm just letting you know I'm here for you. Any advice or anything I can give you, just let me know. Just that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, people are all going to tighten their belt. So we want to make sure that we're on the side of being still in the hopper, right? As this belt tightens, there's a good opportunity here also for people to really kind of run through their budgets and kind of evaluate when was the last time they price checked some of their vendors. When's the last time they, what about your insurance? When's the last time you checked the rates on your house or your car insurance? Most of us don't think about those kind of things.
Right.
So if you're an insurance agent, now's the time to, instead of sitting back, be a starter and say, I want to provide value for you. I want to save you money in a time when, liquidity might be tight. And I think that goes across the board. And hopefully what we find is that those businesses who are trying to help find more market share. And so it's really easy to be lazy when times are good, and when everybody's, fat and happy. And now as we lean up, the businesses that are willing to provide the value and are trying to put forth that effort, I think have a much better chance of success, right? It doesn't guarantee success, but they're increasing their likelihood of success by being helpful.
Yeah, I think another thing too, with everybody being home, there's a lot of people that are laid off. It's also making them realize what they actually spent their money on. Is like far as like how many times did I go out to eat? I was going out to eat before, or maybe all those streaming services. Now I'm in media, so it's cool. You can spend your money on streaming services, but really, how many are you watching? Like how many things? So it's making you look at your finances, and some things you're not even utilizing, but you're just paying for on a monthly basis. Really starts making you focus on, hey, you might actually be able to come out of this and start, building a new lifestyle where you're actually saving money. Now you're able to invest in things. You're able to put away money, whereas before, you were living paycheck to paycheck. Now it's kind of forcing you to really take a look at some of those things that you're spending your money on.
I agree completely. I think there's going to be a whole lot of evaluating on a lot of ways we spend money, not just in our own personal budgets, but in larger corporate budgets as well. One of the things that I'm concerned about for people is, we talk about this V-shaped recovery and how jobs are going to come back, but I think a lot of employers are going to kind of look at the way they built their companies and decide that many of these jobs are no longer essential, right? And they can do it leaner. And so I don't think that we should just assume that all the jobs are going to come back in the same way. So I think we're going to see a rise in the gig economy. I think we're going to see people who are freelancing, who are gigging, who are picking up whatever they can. And I think we have to prepare ourselves for that. But I think we also have to start thinking about that for the future. The last data I saw said that by 2030, which is not that far, right? It's only 9.5 or so years away. 50% of the economy will be gig or freelance.
Yep.
What are we doing right now to prepare ourselves? Like, I have daughters that are 9, 6, and 3. In 10 years, my daughters will be 19 and 16 and 13, right? Like, what are we doing right now to prepare them for a world where 50% of all jobs look like that?
Yeah.
And so it's not enough to think about, we have to think about tomorrow because, that's important, but we have to be more strategic and broader in our thinking as well. And there's a lot of creatives, especially that, maybe they were in-house marketing, in-house design, or maybe some of these things that they may find themselves in fractional work. And they need to have the ability to embrace that and understand that may be the new reality. We don't, I tell people, I don't get to live in the world as I wish it existed. I have to live in the world as it exists.
Yeah.
And so how do we start preparing ourselves for that now, understanding that we may not all go back to full speed like it was even a month ago.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of some of the old school business owners that have been in business for many, many years, they have no other choice but to leverage, the internet and leverage, their employees working at home. Whereas before, they would have never even did that. They were like, oh, no, you're showing up in the office every single day. I need to make sure I see you here. That type of stuff is like, that's no more relevant. You don't even have that choice. But what you may learn out of this is it's even more efficient. It's cost effective. It's less overhead. Your employees are happier because they're able to spend more time with their loved ones, even though they're working. Hey, I have the approach of, as long as the work is getting done, I don't care if you're working on Mars. If our clients are happy and the work is getting done, that's all that matters, and you're happy, and you're happy and being fulfilled in what you're doing. That's the biggest thing. It doesn't really matter. And I think this is now forcing business owners to take a step back and be like, hey, you know what? We could do this. And it's also going to save us some money.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think one thing we're learning is there's no such thing as one size fits all. it's going to be different for different people. Some businesses will be able to operate that way. Some people want to be around other people in the office, right? Some people need that kind of camaraderie and that connection. And so now it allows everybody to just kind of look at their operations and decide what's going to be the best fit, instead of this is the way we've always done it, right? I think the people who rely on that, this is the way we've always done it mantra, are going to find themselves in bad shape in a few months.
Right. So in wrapping up here, because I know you and I can talk for hours, but in wrapping up, if there was one bit of advice, piece of advice you would give, say, an entrepreneur that is going through, a difficult time right now because they just had a startup or they're operating a business right now, to get them through, what would that be?
I think the one thing that we have to think through is we will get through this. We will come out on the other side. How do we think strategically and remain relentlessly optimistic? And optimism is a hard word to use right now because it's a tough world. I don't take that for granted. How do we position ourselves to come out on the top and be one of the winners through this, and or one of the survivors, and not allow ourselves to spiral into depression or spiral into uncertainty, and let this uncertainty control our behavior, because it's really easy to do that. And once you start spiraling, it's really hard to come out of that tailspin. And I would also say, to the entrepreneurs who their startups are struggling or their job vanishes, is like, they're not alone and they didn't do anything wrong, right? You can be in really bad shape right now and you did not do anything wrong. Maybe you made all the right decisions. If somebody tells you your business is closed, you can't control that. How do we work on things we can control and maybe figure out a way to come out, okay on the backside of it? And I use the word okay. I think okay is a relative term. I don't think that we should be, bullshitting people into thinking that everybody's going to pop back into prosperity immediately. That's not going to be the case. How do we find okay? How do we find neutral? I think that is an okay thing. And, the last thing I will say is, I see people out there sometimes are like, oh, you need to be writing the next great American novel now, or you need to be learning a new skill. And maybe that's true if that's your mindset, but maybe just staying in a neutral place and not getting depressed and being able to come out of this thing, in one piece, that's an accomplishment too. I don't think that should be taken for granted.
Yeah, really good. So in all of this, maintaining positivity, maintaining optimism, but whatever the outcome is going to be, make sure that you're okay. Love that. That's right. Hey, Scott, I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me, bud. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, man.